Struggling seniors, I've got a news flash for you, and it's good news. If you're overwhelmed with bills that you can't afford to pay, like credit card bills, you don't have to pay them. Okay, maybe you don't believe me, but would you believe Attorney Eric Olsen? He's the founder of the Helps Law Group, and he specializes in assisting seniors and others who are struggling with debt. Now, for years, the former bankruptcy attorney has been advising struggling seniors, you don't have to go without food, medicine, or other necessities just to pay your other bills. Your retirement income is protected and can't be taken by debt collectors. Your retirement savings are protected. Your bank accounts are protected. Often, you don't have to pay your taxes, and you can easily stop debt collector harassment. And even if you're sued, you don't even have to go to court. So watch this helpful Zoom interview, and you'll learn all these vital facts, as well as how to contact Helps for more help. Isn't it about time you stop worrying about old bills and focused on what you truly need? Hey everybody, it's Jeff Hoyt, editor-in-chief of SeniorLiving.Org, and once again I have the pleasure of speaking with Eric Olsen. Eric's an attorney, and he's the founder of the Helps Law Group, which helps seniors and other people who are struggling with debt. Welcome, Eric.
Good to be here with you, Jeff.
Well, really appreciate you taking the time. So,
Yeah.
You work with a lot of struggling seniors. They reach out to you for help. What's the main thing you have to tell them that when they reach out?
If they're overwhelmed with debt, they don't need to worry. They don't have to pay their debt. Their income is protected. They can use their income, their Social Security, their different forms of income for their needs. They don't need to worry.
Well, I just got a whopping credit card bill. Does that mean I don't have to pay it?
No, you're not a senior, Jeff. You work for wages, and if you didn't pay your credit card bill, they could sue you, garnish your wages. But that's not going to happen to a senior.
Well, bad for me, but good for seniors who are on these fixed incomes. Are there lots of seniors who would benefit from knowing this?
Struggling seniors need to understand that their income is protected, their Social Security, their pension, their disability, their VA benefits, other forms of retirement income. Yeah, I talk to seniors all the time, and many don't realize that their income is protected by federal and state laws, and it doesn't need to be used to pay a debt they can't afford to pay.
So my income isn't protected, but for millions of seniors, their income is protected?
Sure, yeah. So Social Security, for example, in 1935, when it was passed, it was protected from seniors, and it's been protected ever since. It can't be garnished or taken from you. And then the same thing with pensions. Pensions are protected under a law. Many of them are protected under a law called ERISA, Employment Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, which protects pensions. And even if a pension isn't protected under that federal law passed in 1974, a state will protect your pension. And then there's laws that protect VA benefits. There's laws that protect 401ks, IRAs, other types of income that a senior gets. You bet. The laws protect their income. But a lot of seniors don't realize that. Back in, I think 1989, 1 out of 5 seniors had debt when they retired, but now it's over half. And a lot of them can't afford to pay it. And the percentage goes higher as seniors gets older. So there's a lot of seniors struggling with debt, and many of them don't realize that their income is protected.
Well, you bring up an excellent point. You said it used to be 1 out of 5 seniors retire with debt, and now more than half of the seniors retire with debt?
Yeah, some statistics say that it's almost 90%, but it's a lot. Many seniors, they retire with debt.
So I'm guessing for a lot of these seniors, they're forced to retire. In other words, they want to keep working to pay off their debts, but they can't because of health issues, or they've been laid off and can't get another job because of their age, things like that.
Yeah, that's true, Jeff.
So everybody needs shelter, everybody needs food, people need medicine. So if people are taking their money and spending it on these life's necessities, that's okay to do that instead of paying a credit card bill, for example?
Oh, absolutely. That's why lawmakers protected your Social Security and your other forms of retirement, because they want seniors to be able to afford to pay their necessities of life. If a senior didn't pay for their food or their shelter or their medicine, they could get sick, get in the hospital. That would be another burden on society. So Congress and lawmakers protect seniors' income so it's available for their needs.
Right. So getting back to me for a second, if I don't pay my big credit card bill, they could come, go to court, get a judgment against me, and they could either garnish my wages or reach into my bank account and take the money somehow. And you're saying that seniors, you can't do that to people on Social Security, for example?
That's true. They can't. And you mentioned a bank account. So if a senior was sued, if they didn't pay a debt and they got sued and there was a judgment against them, and a creditor tried to take money out of their bank account, there's a federal rule that went into effect in 2012 that protects twice the amount of federal benefits a senior receives each month in the account into which it's deposited. So if you got $1,500 in Social Security, for example, twice that amount, $3,000 in your bank account, would be protected from garnishment by a debt collector if they sued you and got a judgment. So they can't take money out of your bank account as well.
Wow, interesting. So using your example, someone gets $1,500 a month in Social Security. Most of that's paid now through direct deposit, goes right into a bank account. And you're saying it's not a $1,500 limit, but it's actually twice that, $3,000 in their bank account, that even if someone got a judgment against the senior, they wouldn't be allowed to touch that money?
That's right, Jeff.
I remember when you first told me about this, I thought, wow, struggling seniors really need to know this, that this is something that could help them that many of them don't know about. Is that your experience? They don't know this?
It is. And they should also understand that, if that twice the amount of federal benefits you get, like Social Security, it could be a VA benefit, it could be a federal retirement, U.S. Post Office, railroad worker, those are all federal benefits. Twice as protected, but the amount in your bank account that's protected, it doesn't matter what monies are in there or where they came from. If you got $1,500 in Social Security, that's $3,000. But if you had money that came from another source, like something you sold or a gift, or money from any other source, that is also protected in that account as long as the balance in the account is less than twice the amount of the federal benefit they get each month. Yeah, you're right. Seniors don't understand this. I would guess maybe 999 out of 1,000 attorneys don't understand this rule. And I've yet to meet a bank manager that understands the rule about protected income, but there's a department in the bank that deals with garnishments, Jeff. They know the rule and they protect your income. If they got a writ of garnishment, they look at your bank account, they can determine where the money came from, and they protect twice the amount of your federal benefits in there, regardless if there's other monies in that account that came from somewhere else.
So if an adult child gave their parents some money to help them during a difficult time, as long as the bank account wasn't more than twice the amount they get every month in Social Security or a VA benefit, then that money can't be touched.
That's right. That's right.
And what about other retirement savings that a senior might have?
Sure. IRA is protected, 401k. Annuities are protected under state law. Some states vary, but as a practical matter, in 46 years of practice, I've never seen anyone lose an annuity. So other forms of income are protected as well.
So someone could have 5 or 6 figures in a retirement account, an IRA or 401k, and they still wouldn't have to use that to pay a credit card bill, for example.
That's right. It could sound like a lot of money, but when you get older and we're living longer, it can go fast. And one thing seniors need to remember that, if they have money in an IRA or 401k or that they've saved themselves, it's not necessarily a good idea to use that money to pay old debt, because if you use that money and once it's gone, okay? But while it's in the IRA or the 401k, it's protected. So if you use the money to pay credit card debt, once it's gone, it can't be replaced. So they don't need to use the money to pay debt.
Right, because I know a lot of seniors have pride and they've been paying their bills their whole life, and they feel like, I can just take this retirement money and pay that bill. But that could really backfire against them because they're not putting more money into their retirement accounts.
That's exactly right. It could backfire them. That's what, when we talk to seniors, we go over this stuff, these with them, so they understand. A lot of things we talk about, they've never thought about, but it's important for them to know.
So these struggling seniors who are living off protected income, Social Security, VA benefits, pensions, retirement savings account, they don't have to pay their credit card bills. What other bills could they choose to ignore so they have money for food, shelter, and medicine?
Well, okay, we'll give another example. Okay, let's say taxes, okay? The law that protects your income from a credit card company, if they sued you, also protects your retirement income from a state tax collector. So, we should always try to pay our taxes, but if we're poor and we're modest income and we need it for our needs, laws protect your retirement income from a state tax collector. And even the IRS has a program called currently not collectible status. If your income is under a certain amount, you can qualify for what's currently not collectible with the IRS and not have to pay IRS taxes. And many seniors don't realize that. But it's important for them to understand that if they owe taxes, they're not going to have to worry about, often they don't have to worry about paying their taxes.
Now, what if you're paying for something over time, like a car loan or something like that? If you stop paying the loan, then someone's going to come and take that car away from you.
Well, yeah, on a car loan, they have a security interest in the car. They have their name on the title, and you're the registered owner. The lender is on the title. So if you default on the loan, they can repossess the car. Okay. So yeah, if you want to keep a car, you're going to need to keep making that payments. But once, sometimes a senior might find themselves strapped with a car payment they really can't afford. Maybe it's just too much money, and maybe they don't have any equity in the car. They owe more than it's worth. They can make the decision to stop making the car payment and let it go back. Okay. And then they may eventually, the creditor can come after them for the difference. After they sell the car, they may owe some more money, but the senior doesn't need to worry about paying that because they can't take anything from it. Even if they got sued for that difference, their income is protected.
And what about medical bills? I mean, people want to pay their personal physicians, of course, but if someone gets socked with a huge hospital bill, what happens if you don't pay that?
Same thing, your income is protected from a medical debt collector, okay? They can't come after you. I mean, they could sue you, get a judgment, but they can't collect from you. Now, if you're over 65 and you're on Medicare, or later you need more help and you're on Medicaid, if you're on Medicare, that's going to pay for most of your medical bills. And there may be a difference that you can't afford, but you don't need to pay it. Now, if it's your local doctor, we'll tell people, you could pay them, a little bit each month, $10, $20, whatever you can afford. I don't see doctors kicking people out or rejecting them because they owe them money. But you can pay them something. You don't have to pay them the entire amount. And then a lot of hospitals have programs to wipe out the debt. But even if it goes to collection, you're not going to have to pay it.
Good to know. If you stop paying your credit card, let's say you're buying groceries, things you need on your credit card, you stop paying it. Well, let's talk about the downside. They're going to cancel your card and ruin your credit rating. Won't that hurt seniors?
It can hurt seniors in a way, but a lot of seniors, it's a balancing act. Do I need to keep my credit, or do I need to be able to live and have enough money to pay for rent and food and utilities? Now, surprisingly, you can rebuild your credit even if you default on debt. Helps. We have a program called 7 Steps to a 720 credit score. I don't manage it. Another company does. We pay for them to do this. Seniors can rebuild their credit over 1.5 to 2 years, get up to a 700 credit score. Your credit is based on your recent credit history. So if you had a problem with debt and it goes bad, that's fine. It's going to get written off, even if you get sued or judgments against you. Lawsuits or judgments don't appear on your credit reports anymore. And you can rebuild your credit after it's gone bad. It's based on your recent credit history. So a lot of seniors don't really worry about credit, but those that do, you can rebuild your credit.
And I realize, if I don't pay my credit card bill, there's going to be debt collectors calling me up and harassing me for money. What do you do to stop that? I mean, these seniors don't want to be bothered every day about their unpaid debts.
Yeah, well, that's how HELPS came into being. I probably filed 30 or 40,000 bankruptcies before I started HELPS, and seniors would come into me. I'd say, well, you don't need to pay this debt, but I know you don't need to file bankruptcy. And a lot of them couldn't afford to file bankruptcy, but if they didn't pay their debt, I knew the creditors were going to call them at home and make their lives miserable. So in 1978, a law was passed called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. That provides that if a collector or creditor is sent a cease-and-desist letter, the collector can no longer call or send a demand letter anymore. And it also provides if you're represented by an attorney, then debt collectors have to communicate with the attorney, not you. And so that's why HELPS came to be. We represent seniors throughout the United States, all 50 states that are struggling with debt. They find out about us, they contact us, they get enrolled in help, they give us the collectors they owe money to. We send out a cease and desist letter, and the harassment stops. They cannot communicate with you. They can't call or send you demand letters anymore. They have to communicate with us, and peace comes back to your life. And then we represent seniors ongoing, so they never have to deal with collectors again. They get a new collection notice, they let us know, we send a cease and desist letter out to that debt collector, the harassment stops. So you can stop collectors from harassing you.
Good to know. But the debt doesn't go away with the cease and desist letter, so they still could be dragged into court and sued for that debt. Won't they, all the money they don't spend, then won't they have to hire a lawyer to defend themselves?
Yeah, they could be sued, and it's not unusual for a senior to get sued, but they got to remember a couple things. Number one, your income is protected. If someone were to sue you and get a judgment, it's protected in your bank account. Twice the amount of your federal benefits is protected, regardless of what funds are in there. When a helps client is sued, when one of our clients is sued, we send a letter to the attorney letting them know that the senior can't afford to pay the debt anymore. And we understand they're going to get a judgment, remind the attorney of the other attorney of the protected nature of our client's bank account. We tell the client why they don't need to worry. If there's a judgment against them, they're not going to be able to collect from you. They're going to be okay. They don't need to worry if they're sued, and they're not going to need to go to court. Okay.
You're saying that if they owe the debt, there's no point in going to court and fighting it. That you don't need an attorney to say, yeah, I do owe that money.
That's right. I mean, if you want to dispute it, if you don't owe the debt, yeah, then you can, go to court and dispute it. But most of the time when seniors are sued for old debts, they understand that they owe it.
Right. So someone who owes the money, the debt collector started harassing them, you send them a cease and desist letter. Then they get a judgment against them, but because their income's protected, their bank accounts are protected, they can't take that money. But could they take their home? Could they take their car? Could they take their furniture or other assets?
Essentially, no, and I'll explain why. Okay, different states have different laws that protect assets. So like a state will have a law that protects a certain amount of equity in a home, or a certain amount of equity in a car, how much a car is worth, or household goods, or any number of other assets. And a lot of states have an exemption called a wild card, that if it's not covered under one exemption, then there's a flat amount that's protected. Some states don't even allow a home to be touched. They protect all the equity in a home. But what seniors need to understand, Jeff, and this is important, is that it's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors to go after a person's property, like a home, a car, or other assets they own, even if that person has equity in that property more than what's allowed under state law. Okay, they don't do that for a number of reasons, and I know, because we represent tens of thousands of clients. I've been doing this for over 4 decades. They don't go after a person's other types of property. If they knew, they could try to hit a bank account, which is protected, as I explained, but they're not going to go after your home. And if they were, there's ways to stop that, but they just simply don't do that.
Well, that's reassuring. Now, some seniors may think that if they owe money, that if they don't pay it, then if they pass, that it'll go to their widows or their children. Is that something they should worry about?
No, not really. Sometimes seniors might be given some misinformation. They might say, well, in a community property state, then the spouse is going to be liable for the debt. Credit card companies do not sue surviving spouses if only one spouse that passed away is on the credit card. They don't go after the other spouse. But even if another debt went after the other surviving spouse, if that spouse is getting Social Security, their income's protected. Your kids definitely aren't going to be responsible for your debt. Okay, there were laws many years ago that provided that could be a problem with that. Those laws really aren't in effect now, not enforced. Your kids aren't going to be responsible for your debt. You don't need to worry about that.
Well, that's good to know. So let's recap. So struggling seniors who are on fixed incomes, it's like, what are the bills that they don't have to pay?
Credit cards, payday loans, bank loans, any type of loan you have, a medical debt, you name it. You don't have to pay it.
But what about the bills they do have to pay?
Well, if you want cable, you want to pay your electrical bill. If you're buying a home, you need to pay your mortgage. If you're going to keep the car, you need to make the car payment. You're going to need to pay property taxes, okay? As far as income taxes, it depends on your situation, but often you don't have to pay them. You know, if your only income is Social Security, you're not going to be required to pay property income taxes. So, yeah, the common, sense bills you need to pay. Utilities, cable, medications, things like that.
And if they don't own a home, they should still pay their rent, so they have a roof above
Well, they're going to need to pay their rent. You bet.
Great. So if somebody wanted to get more information or use you to stop debt collector harassment, how can they get a hold of HELPS?
We're all over the internet. HELPS stands for Help Eliminate Legal Problems for Seniors. 855-435-7787 is our phone number, or 855-HELPS-US or HELPS US. Or they can look at our website, www.helpsishere.org. Our first mission is to protect seniors from collector harassment, and our second mission is to educate seniors how they can maintain their financial independence. And we'll talk to anyone. We don't turn anyone away.
Well, that's great. Really appreciate your help, Eric. Thanks for setting us straight on this.
Thanks for having me today, Jeff.